Good evening. The time is now 5:30, and it's time to start the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting on Monday, December 16th, 2024. Can I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Fleury.
Present.
Alderman Martinez.
Present.
Alderman Bolton.
Present.
Alderman Newsom.
Present.
Alderman Donowhere.
Present.
You got the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a first and a second motion to approve the minutes from the this is the December 16th meeting, from the last Public Works Committee meeting in November?
So move. Second.
Thank you. Any questions to that motion? Roll call, please, or all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we will move on to audience time. Does anyone in the audience want to speak to us about anything on the agenda tonight, on the Public Works Committee agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. There is no old business, so under new business, item A, I need a first and a second to approve an ordinance amending section 21-64 of the Waukegan Code of Ordinances regarding stop signs at certain minor arterial roads.
So move.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions to this motion?
I had a question because it states minor, but it doesn't give you the actual streets we're talking about?
So, Alderman Newsom, on the ordinance itself, and I can do this for each of the ordinances that come up, it's on Exhibit A of the draft ordinance. So for this first one, it is for Jackson Street and 8th Street, and then Jackson Street and Jackson Court are the two intersections that are on this particular this particular ordinance, I believe.
Jackson Street and 8th, you said? 8th.
The first one is Jackson Street and 8th Street, which is a four-way stop, and then under three-way stops, Jackson Street and Jackson Court.
And to clarify, I believe City Engineer Jesus is here. The engineering department did not recommend either one of these. They did a study and they found that stop signs were not warranted and staff does not recommend the installation. So we'd be going against the normal course of approving stop signs. I mean, if we just willy-nilly put them everywhere, it impedes the flow of traffic. It can sometimes be more of a hindrance than a help. So these are not recommended by the staff.
Thank you, Alderman Florent, but allow me to comment on it. Due to the amount of accidents there, there's a great concern. That's why that request was submitted.
Alderman Jesus, Engineer Jesus, would you please come explain how this works, please?
Yes, good afternoon, council members. As Alderman Florent stated, these are not recommended. Particular Jackson Street, Jackson Court, no engineering study was done. Thus, I cannot recommend the stop signs without a study. Furthermore, this is considered a minor arterial. If you recall, on the street calming policy that you approved a couple months ago, I gave some information regarding the types of streets in the city, and this goes for many cities, all cities nationwide. We have arterials, which are your primary source of mobility throughout any city. Those limit access, driveway access, street access. Your second level are your collectors. That's the balance between local roads and the arterials that allow for a little bit of both. And your local roads are in place to allow more access to the land, driveway, streets. For this particular one, because there was no engineering study done, I cannot recommend the stop signs. There are other alternatives that we can pursue, such as a painted curb extension. Right now, currently, these roads are 16 to 15 foot wide. There are other items we can take with the stripes, the bollards. Those will reduce the lane width. Thus, it'll reduce the speed of the traffic, which again, it fits the characteristic of the road, which is considered a minor arterial.
So why weren't
Thank you.
engineering studies done?
Oh, I was told to put this on the agenda at the beginning of December. Our current resources, engineering study, and engineering study takes about 3 to 4 months. It used to be 6. We're starting to cut that back as resources become available to us.
Okay, so an engineering study could be done, but it would take time.
It could be done, it could take 3 to 4 months, and they may yield the same response.
Okay, and I want to point out, just because we put a stop sign out doesn't mean people are going to stop. mean-
I always go back, and we had this conversation earlier with Lake County DOT. We are part of the safety action plan with the county, and it goes back to the 3 E's: engineering, enforcement, and education. I'm always an advocate of enforcement and education. If you refer back to the traffic calming policy, those are the first steps we must take. So it's also one of those items to consider. The engineering, adding stop signs, additional street traffic signals may or may not yield the response we want. Painted curb out extensions may reduce the speed, which logically may reduce the impacts of any crashes.
I have a question. Alderman Bolton stated there's lots of accidents. Do we have any information on that?
I do not, because I did not do the study, so
study.
I was not given the opportunity to gather all that information.
So we could wait until the study is done, and then we'd have more documentation about whether this would make sense or not, right?
That is correct. You will see those in the next agenda items. There were some studies done, completed at different intersections, which we have the recommendation that recommended, but we have the standards that we follow to add stop signs at certain intersections.
So these, question. So these 2 streets have not had the study?
Correct.
Okay.
May I? Oh,
I have a question, I'm sorry. So, Jesus, thank you for that. But my question is that when I had wanted a street done, you guys did a very thorough study, and I mean, it was very nice and put together, and, but to me, it was a lot of jargon. What is it that how do you conduct a study? What are what determines, for a stop sign to get installed or not? What is the protocol?
Yes, so if you give me a second, I can tell you the exact details. I have to pull up one of the reports. I don't recall the top of my head, and I can let you know the sections that we follow and what it takes to get to that point.
And so the alderman is given a copy of the whole, just the determination, correct?
Yes, for the ones that we have the study, you guys do have access to the full report. It's under executive content, and it displays the MUTCD standards that we follow and whether or not those warrants are being met.
Alderman Bolton, I think you had something else you wanted to say?
yeah, I just want to, thank you so much, Alderman Floyd. Not negating what you're saying and what's being said, but I heard you say there's other levels, other things that we can do to enforce safety in that area.
Yes, there's other items that we can certainly look out for. Engineering items per se, we're focusing on those. That is the direction of council. Like I mentioned, painted curb extensions. What does that mean? We will reduce the width of the lane, and that in turn will, technically speaking, will reduce the speed that cars are going through there. There's also, we can take a look at other methods that could possibly be out there to fit this intersection, but like I mentioned, enforcement and education are always the top items we should be looking out for our constituents. To go back to Alderman Martinez's question, so Section 2B2 of the MUTCD displays the warrants, and the items that we look for when we first start our engineering study is we go out there, we set up the system that captures the traffic movements. So we do have a camera that we can put up there. It does automatic counts for us. So what does that mean? It means quality. We get quality results from that system, and also it frees up my staff from doing other tasks. Second task is to acquire 36 months worth of police reports. So that is also another resource that it takes into account the police department. It takes some time. Our police department, traffic division does an excellent job at reviewing the reports for quality. So rest assured that if the data that we're inputting into the study is of high standards. Second is going out there, do a preliminary aerial investigation of the site, whether there are any obstructions that need to be corrected. Those standards are laid out in front of, we follow the IDOT Manual 26.2. Don't quote me on that one yet, but we follow the IDOT standards for the intersection designs. They account for speed. They also account for what type of road it is. It's an arterial, collector, local road. Then the last steps are to compare that data to the warrants in the MUTCD, which is the crash experience, sight distance, transition to signal control or transit to yield control or circular intersections. Most of the time that does not apply. And then the 8-hour volume count. So if you want, I can give you more details on what numbers are there.
I think we get the idea.
And I thank you for that, because I put in a request about
Okay.
a year ago. So, yeah, if we could follow up with it, thank you.
Okay.
Wait 1 second. So Alderman Martinez, does that answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
I think Alderman Felix had his hand up first.
Yes, thank you. The Jackson and Jackson Court is the one that I proposed.
That,
and,
we're not talking about that one yet.
That's in this
It is
one.
on this one.
Oh, I thought it was just this one.
There's
So
two.
okay, for under 3A, there are two intersections under 3A. So we've got three ordinances. This first one, and the reason they're broken up is by how the roads are classified. So in 3A has Jackson and 8th and Jackson Court.
I see that now. I apologize. Go ahead, Alderman Felix.
Oh, yes, so this one that I brought up, I in no means want to just put stops everywhere, but I do think that this one, there's been a lot of accidents in that where it just turns on Jackson and Jackson Court. There's a pole that was knocked down. I think that's not the first pole that's been knocked down. So no, in no means I want to just put stop signs anywhere, but I do think that it would be good to put some there.
But I think we need a study to know for sure. I mean, other than your impression that there's been a lot of accidents.
Well, I do drive around my ward a lot, and then obviously, of course, my constituents voted me to represent them. I do think that this is something
Like
that,
we all have been voted in, I understand that, but we have to have guidelines of why we do stuff. We can't just say, well, I have the impression that there's a lot of accidents, so we need to do
Yes,
something.
and-
And that's only a block off of off of Grand.
I understand that.
So we have to have traffic flow, and there has to be documentation that, yes, this is a necessary step. And again, just because you put a stop sign there doesn't mean people are going to stop. I mean,
That is everywhere, for sure.
that's true.
And in terms of us, yes, of course, we have our professionals here, but also, we are able to also give direction. We're representing our wards. We can also, that's what we're doing here, giving direction, aside from doing the studies. Thank you.
Alderman Guzman?
I'd like to thank the engineer for his recommendation, but I feel the alderman should not take his recommendation, move on to the vote, and let's move this forward. We have a lot more stuff to do, and either recommend it, don't recommend it, and push it to the city council. We have a couple other committees that have to be done, so we thank the engineer for his recommendation, and let's vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Guzman, for trying to run my committee for me.
And not at all.
Alderman Hayes.
I'm not on the committee, but I'll just comment briefly. I requested a stop sign a couple of months ago. It was approved a few meetings ago, and it was after they went through the study. And after the engineering was consulted, Public Works was consulted, the police were consulted. We may hold ourselves out as experts in certain areas, but I can assure you none of us is a traffic pattern expert or an engineering expert. So the reason that we have these talented and skilled staff members is to advise us based on their expertise. So I'm a little bit stunned that we would seek to override an engineer's recommendation, or at least not be able to wait or have the patience to wait out a study. you may think it's urgent, but there's also danger in putting a stop sign where it doesn't belong. So I think we should consider the flip side of this. So if you want to go ahead, I'm not on the committee, if you want to go ahead and vote for a stop sign without waiting for the expert's opinion and for a study to be conducted, so be it. But you are, in effect, stepping into their shoes and trying to take over that responsibility, which I think is ill-advised. So if you owe a duty to your constituents, as you guys have said, part of that duty is making sure that you've done all of your due diligence. And part of that due diligence is consulting the experts and allowing them to go through the process and conduct and evaluate the traffic patterns, the police reports, and everything that goes along with it.
Thank you for that, Alderman Hayes. If there's no other questions, let's go ahead and do a vote.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Martinez.
Yes.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Being that there is no studies done, my vote is no.
Alderman Downingworth.
No. This will proceed to the council with a negative recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to item B, amending, I need a first and a second on an ordinance amending section 21-64 of the Waukegan Code of Ordinances regarding stop signs at Genesee Street, a major collector, and Lake Street.
So move.
Anybody
Second.
seconding? Okay, thank you. Any questions to this motion?
I do. We're talking about putting a stop sign on Genesee Street? A block from Belvedere where there's a traffic light? Is that what the recommendation is?
Well, the engineer didn't recommend it, but the alderman is requesting it.
Is that, I mean, is that,
You should say Genesee and Belvedere.
you trying to put a
No,
stop?
there's already, I don't recall requesting that. No, because devices are already there. So maybe inadvertently that was requested? I don't know.
Do we know who requested this one?
Because there's already a stop sign there.
There's, a stop sign at Lake on both east side and west side of the
Correct.
street.
Do we know who requested this?
So I received an email from Alderman Felix and yourself about inquiring about these locations. Yes, this was months ago. This was a couple months ago. So then, talking to Chief of Staff Bridges, he recommended to do the intersection study at that location. So we went ahead and did that, but this is in Alderman Felix's ward, if I'm not mistaken. So this intersection, we did a study for it, and it did not warrant the four-way stop sign. It's currently a two-way stop sign
Right.
on Lake Street.
The request was for Genesee and Corey, not Lake.
Yeah. Well, my request was Genesee and Corey. That one was, someone else requested it. I just made sure that it was on the list.
Okay, so I don't remember requesting this, even though you're saying it came from me.
I think you may have asked about the location, but I had another, when I talked
Okay.
to the administration, it was
Okay, so this
directed to
one,
the study.
this one was studied and it is not recommended, just FYI. Anybody have any other questions about it?
So it's negated, yeah?
Just vote no.
Go ahead and go ahead and call for the vote.
Well, that's not the only one, right, in that one?
Correct. Item C has Genesee and Corey.
Would you guys consider amending, taking that one off? But I still would like the Genesee and Corey to move forward.
But that one was, a study was done on that one?
On Genesee and Corey, no.
So we need to do a study on that one.
Correct.
So,
So once we,
be clear, on item 3B, the proposed resolution has only one location. It is Genesee and Lake Street. If nobody wanted this one at all, if there is no sponsor for this, and it seems like this one may have been put on in error.
Inadvertently.
Inadvertently, yes. So you could just decide to pull this one completely. If nobody wants this, you can just say, we're going to remove this from the agenda, and we can also remove it from the city council agenda
Okay, then we'll just remove it from this agenda and the city council agenda.
by unanimous consent of this one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Alderman Felix, your question about Genesee and Corey, that is on the next ordinance, the next item agenda. It is included in there.
So, okay, thank you. I thought I was confused. So this next ordinance, item C, an ordinance amending section 21-62 and 21-64 of the Waukegan Code of Ordinance regarding various intersections is 8th and Macquarie, Crescent and Glenwood, Oakley and Gillette, Elmwood and Lloyd, Crescent and Muirfield. I think that's it.
There's
So-
more.
Yeah. All right. So can I get a first and a
Hold
second on this?
This is,
There's more. There should be.
yeah, I'm just going off of what's in the exhibit. I'll just read them off if I could. 8th Parkway and Macquarie Road, Elmwood Avenue and Lloyd Avenue, Genesee Street and Corey, Oakley Avenue and Gillette Avenue, 4th Street and County Street, Glenwood Avenue and Crescent Avenue, Muirfield Avenue and Crescent Avenue, Buttrick Street and Catalpa Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, so can I get a first and a second on this motion, and then we'll discuss it?
So, second,
Okay, thank you. So now, my first question is, has there been an engineering study done for all of these?
Not for all of them.
Okay,
So,
so let's pick out the ones first that had a study done,
yes.
okay?
So the ones that had study done was 8th Parkway, Macquarie Road, Elmwood and Lloyd, Oakley Avenue, Gillette Avenue, Glenwood and Crescent, and Muirfield Avenue and Crescent Avenue.
And if I'm not mistaken, all of those showed that this was not recommended.
That is
It
correct.
didn't meet the standards that are set for having a stop sign.
Correct.
Okay. Wait, Alderman Guzman, you're not on this committee, and I don't want you to tell me what to do until we're done.
But that's my streets. That's who I recommend.
Well, hold your horses. So the ones Alderman, Engineer Jesus read off were the ones that had a study done, and they were not recommended. So does anyone on the committee have any questions about those streets?
I got a question. Alderman Martinez? Murfield and Crescent. Murfield comes to a dead end at Crescent. You want to put a stop sign on Crescent?
I know that we had discussed it, but I think you went out there and did the test. Is that the one on, that test was conducted, and it was determined that it was not recommended, so we went along, but you did add some other kind of flashes or something to that effect. Devices, I want to say.
Correct.
So we're not trying to put a stop sign there, is that correct?
Originally, it was proposed, but
But not now?
not now.
Okay.
So
Is
are
that
you
the
pulling
same?
it off the agenda, Alderman Martinez?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about Crescent and Glenwood.
Right.
Is that the one? Okay, so that one's done.
And the same thing is Crescent and Murfield is the same way as the traffic flows east and west on Crescent, and those streets come out of Crescent, out of Murfield and, what is the other one you wanted? Crescent and Murfield and Glenwood.
Glenwood Avenue.
So we're not putting a stop sign on Crescent.
It wasn't recommended, so then
Okay.
I did let them, the person who requested,
Okay.
I did let them know.
So you're pulling that one as well?
Yeah.
As a
Okay,
always
this used to
stop.
be in your ward, right, when,
Yes.
before they changed things? Okay, so we've eliminated Crescent and Glenwood and Crescent and Muirfield. So we're left with Elmwood and Lloyd and 8th and Macquarie.
Yep.
Okay, so now we can discuss those. Alderman Guzman.
Elmwood and Lloyd, right in front of Mike's Pizza. I don't know if you guys know how busy that place is. And there's only a two-way stop, not a four-way stop, and it was still recommended that there should not be a four-way stop there. That is totally crazy. I actually put I asked them to extend the no parking zone right in all four corners so people can look while they're turning, but I still feel that is not sufficient enough. That four-way stop is needed in there because the traffic is just really, really outrageous there. And also with the yellow stripes, they'll stop people from parking on top of the curbs. And it just, the business is great, but it needs a little bit more control.
Well, it does say in the report that numerous crashes at the intersection were caused by vehicles on Elmwood disregarding or not seeing the stop signs. So putting another stop sign there doesn't seem like it's going to eliminate the problem.
It's going to be a four-way stop instead of a two-way.
Well, not according to this report, it's not going to be.
It's actually already a two-way stop, so it becomes a four-way stop.
Again, the report recommends it doesn't meet the guidelines, just so everyone knows.
I thank the engineer for his opinion, but I request to override it.
I think it's more than an opinion, but okay, so you've made your case. Let's move on to the next one, which is 8th and Macquarie.
8th and Macquarie, I get so many speeders, that's also a two-way stop. What is it? You get east and west, but not north and south. So the lady right there on the what is that? Northwest side of the street, since there is no stop sign on Macquarie heading east or turning on to west onto 8th Parkway, and people have hit that bush, the lady's bush, a lot. And then one car actually almost went inside of her house because it gets very slippery there and people don't stop and they turn that corner too quickly. So that's why I'm requesting a four-way stop instead of two.
Okay, and again, the report says the traffic volumes at that intersection do not warrant an all-way stop. The sight distance is acceptable, and there is a low crash history at this location. Therefore, providing an all-way stop control is not recommended.
Again, I thank the engineer for his study, but I look to override his suggestion.
Okay, so we went over the ones that had the reports. What other ones are in here that were not, that didn't have an engineering report?
4th Street and County Street, Buttrick Street, Catalpa Avenue, and Genesee Street and Corey Avenue.
Fourth and County is the first one?
You want to be systematically, as the way it's written in the ordinance, we can do Genesee Street and Corey Avenue first.
Okay, go ahead.
So for Corey, if I may, for Corey and Genesee Street, so that's right in, so if people coming out of the Julian Towers or the Lakeshore Towers, in the summer, it gets really bad. They just start flooring it, passing since there's no stop, they're just flooring it over there. I have a lot of complaints for that area. That's the reason why I brought that one up. I spoke to the neighbors around the neighborhood. They definitely agree to have one put up there. And if I may speak on the Catalpa and Buttrick.
Go ahead.
So if I'm not mistaken, at least speaking, because I was there like 2 minutes after the huge crash on Buttrick and Washington. It came from Buttrick, at least from what they were telling me, and turned and then hit. There's a lot of people that from Buttrick, they start speeding up, going up Washington, and again, a lot of complaints. I think that'd be a good place to put a stop there as well.
Isn't that only one block from Buttrick?
I don't have the map in front of me.
Isn't that one block from Buttrick?
You're close, yep.
How can you put a stop sign there? I mean, it's a main arterial road. You have a stop sign and then a stop light within a block?
You also may encounter any storage issues at the stoplight during rush hours. But again,
Right.
the engineering study will yield all of these results.
So once we have a study, we'll know whether it's recommended or not. So, okay, anybody else have any comments on that one?
That one hasn't had a study?
No.
Buttrick and
No.
Catalpa?
No. And now Fourth and County? Whose is that one? Okay, would you like to speak about it?
Thank you. So County Street north and southbound, there's no stop signs between Franklin and Ridgeland, and that's 4 very long blocks. So people were particularly headed northbound. They're coming off of Franklin and they are moving fast. You can go down there and see the tire tracks where they're coming out of their driveways and they're spinning their tires. So as you leave Franklin, the next intersection you get to would be 4th Street, and it's a very long block. I don't know why that block is so long. And then the next is Center Street. Then you have Gillette, and then Ridgeland. So all of these are significantly long blocks beyond the norm. And traffic over there it's not constant, it's not all cars, but there are significant instances of cars traveling exceptionally fast because there's no break. There's no slow stop or anything between Franklin and Ridgeland, and many neighbors have complained. Additionally, another factor to consider is that all along that section of county, there are numerous apartment buildings and 2 flats and so forth. There are a lot of kids that play out there in the summertime, and it's a significant hazard. I don't know, I can't speak to how many actual accidents have happened between Franklin and, say, 4th Street. However, there have been numerous accidents at Gillette and County, right? So, and that's because, again, they're getting fast. Now, it's not as much of a problem southbound from Ridgeland to Franklin for some reason. I don't know, seemingly. But there have been a number of accidents there at Gillette and County, and there's
And why didn't you ask for a study?
I asked for a stop sign.
Okay.
And, you know, we did pass a resolution that the alderman could request traffic calming devices. And
Well, but that's not calming, that's stopping. There's a
Well,
difference.
that's pretty calm.
Calming is
If you
one thing,
stop,
stopping
if
is
you
another.
stop, you're calm.
Okay, I got you. You know, you are allowed to sit up here and speak from the dais. You don't have to speak from the podium. But anyway, anybody else have any comments on 4th and County?
There's one more, Alderman Florian. It's Oakley Avenue and Gillette Avenue. I believe we skipped that one. That one did have a study completed.
I'm sorry, it doesn't?
It does,
Oh, Oakley and Gillette?
correct.
I'm sorry, this is just so, there's a lot of these. Okay, so Oakley and Gillette, whose is this one? That's mine as well. Okay, would you like to speak to it, sir? Yes, but again, it's not recommended.
So, Gillette is an east-west street between North Avenue and Sheridan Road, and it crosses Oakley. And if I'm trying to draw this picture for those who are not familiar, on North Avenue, a half a block north of Gillette is Hall Court. Hall Court is a very narrow two-way street. We need to address that. That runs from North Avenue over to Oakley, and you can only run south. Oakley dead ends, right? So you kind of make an L shape coming in off of Hall Court. And there's significant traffic that is southbound on Oakley as it approaches Gillette. Additionally, you have the northbound traffic. There's no stop sign, or there's no stop sign on Gillette. And it's problematic because, again, we've got a number of, it's all residential. There are, several 2 flats there with children. There's an elderly woman there who's mobility challenged but has to get in and out of her vehicle at the curb line. This is a problematic section of roadway. It only affects 2 blocks, they're kind of long, 2 blocks between North Avenue and County, but it also affects the 2 blocks north and south on Oakley. And that's what we need.
Okay, thank you for that description. However, the report does say the traffic at this intersection does not warrant an all-way stop control. There's a sight distance issue on the south side, but trimming a hedge would fix it. There's a low crash history, and traffic volume does not indicate that that's an issue. And the speed limit is only 25 miles an hour, and blah, blah, blah. It's a T, if I'm not mistaken, it's a T intersection, right? Is it, or is it it's a 4-way? Okay, all right, it's a 4-way. All right, so,
For that one, they don't have any stop signs over there?
There's a stop sign on Oakley.
Oakley and,
but not on Gillette.
Not on Gillette. There's a stop sign at Oakley, both north and southbound, so we're coming either way.
Yeah, so it's one,
But-
it's a two-way stop now. He wants to make it a four-way.
Exactly, thank you.
Okay, so I guess what I need to know, is there anybody that's going to vote any differently on any one of these issues than all of them? Because otherwise, we can just vote on them as one group, but if people are going to vote differently, I think we're going to have to pull out some. So I'm not voting any differently on any of them. Is anyone else on the committee?
Yeah, I am. The Genesee, and which one is Genesee and the?
So which ones do you want pulled out?
He's gonna vote for him.
vote is not overwhelming. I have some that I agree and some that I don't.
Okay, so which ones do you want?
I don't agree, John. I thought that there's the one on Genesee.
Well, you don't have to tell us how you're going to vote. Just tell me which ones you want pulled out. Genesee? And Corey? Okay, so that's the only one anyone's asking to have pulled out. Otherwise, everybody's going to vote the same on all of them. Is that, can we do this, Stu? Because
Well-
otherwise, we'll never get through this.
Okay, I, keep in mind, you're just a recommending body, we're just doing a recommendation here. So, in the end, this is gonna go up to the city council, basically as it was written.
So should I just have everybody vote on it as is and let them decide whether they want to vote yes or no, and then at council, we can
I mean,
tease it out?
you could go also, each one of these, and amend, basically, and amend.
I don't want to do that.
Well,
Okay.
I want to mention.
So, Alderman Martinez, since you only have one issue and everyone else doesn't seem to, would you be willing to just vote on it one way here, and then at city council, we can pull it out and amend it and do whatever then? Just in the interest of time? Yes. Okay, thank you. All
He was
right, roll
talking
call,
about the other
please.
Genesee. He was talking about the other, just to clarify, the other one, not the.
I'm
corner
sorry,
one.
what?
Juan was talking about the other Genesee.
I don't care what he was
street.
talking about. It
You
doesn't
just
matter.
asked me what, so I'm
He
responding.
was
There's no need to
speaking
be
about
rude.
the Genesee that was
You
in the
don't need
previous
to be
ordinance.
rude. You could be nice, because this is far enough. This is 3 or 4 times.
Okay. Just to be clear, you could amend and pull individual ones out. You would have to have a vote on each individual one
But
that
I
you're
think we
amending.
should do that at council, not here, because we're going to go through this all again. We are a recommending body. We're either going to recommend it or not recommend it, and then we're going to talk about it at council. So in the interest of time, we have to go back there, don't forget, and talk, which always takes a long time. So in the interest of time, I'm suggesting we just go ahead and vote on this as a package, and then at city council, we can discuss it.
And then get a bit more individualized at the meeting.
Exactly. So either you recommend all of this or you don't, and then once you get to council, you can vote however you want. You don't have to vote the same way now that you'll vote in council. Roll call, please.
Alderman Fleury.
No.
Alderman Martinez.
No.
Alderman Bolton.
No.
Alderman Newsom.
Nay.
Alderman Downward.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll go to council with a negative recommendation. Thank you for that. Okay, item D, a resolution approving the repaving of 3 city-owned parking lots by Leopardo for a not-to-exceed amount of $908,632.17 per section 2-458 subsection I3 joint purchasing through Sourcewell. Can I get a first and a second, please?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions to this? Roll call, please.
Alderman Fleury.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Downward.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Item E, a resolution approving the award of the traffic intersection upgrades rebid to the lowest responsible bidder, Mead Incorporated, for a not-to-exceed amount of $228,652.42. Can I get a first and a second on that?
So move.
Second?
Thank you. Any questions to this? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Fleury.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Downward.
Aye.
Motion passes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Item F, a resolution approving the purchase of an excavator for the Water Department from West Side Tractor Sales per Section 2-458 subsection I3 joint purchasing through Sourcewell for a not-to-exceed amount of $141,975.77. Can I get a first and a second on that?
move.
Second?
Thank you. Are there any questions to this motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item G is a resolution approving change order number 1 with Baxter and Woodman for a not-to-exceed amount of $32,500 for the OCCT study. Can I get a first and a second on this?
So move.
I second.
Any questions to this motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Item H is a resolution approving change order number 1 with Robinson Engineering, increasing their inspection services scope without an increase in price. Can I get a first and a second on that?
So move.
Second?
Thank you. Are there any questions to this motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Item I, a resolution approving a contract with Stiles Incorporated for underground storage tank removal services at 200 East Seahorse Drive. Can I get a first and a second?
So move.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions to this motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. So there are no reports and communications. Can I get a first and a second motion to adjourn?
move.
6:12.
Second? Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.